The 1990 FIFA World Cup was the 14th FIFA World Cup, the quadrennial international football world championship tournament. It was held from May-June to July 8, 1990 in Italy, the second country to host the event twice, the first being Mexico in 1986. Teams representing 116 national football associations entered, and qualification began in April 1988. A total of 22 teams qualified from this process, along with host nation Italy and defending champion Argentina. The tournament was won by West Germany, their third World Cup title. They beat Argentina 1-0 in the final, a rematch of the previous final 4 years earlier. Italy finished third, and England fourth, after both lost their semi-finals in penalty shootouts. This was the last tournament to feature a team from the divided Germany, with the country being reunified later in 1990. Costa Rica, Ireland and the UAE made their first appearances in the finals, and Egypt its first since 1934. The official match ball was the Adidas Etrusco Unico. 116 teams entered the 1990 World Cup, including Italy as host nation and Argentina as reigning World Cup champions, who were both granted automatic qualification. Thus, the remaining 22 finals places were divided among the continental confederations, with 114 initially entering the qualification competition. Due to rejected entries and withdrawals, 103 teams eventually participated in the qualifying stages. 3 teams qualified for the first time: Costa Rica, the Republic of Ireland and the United Arab Emirates. Returning after long absences were Egypt, who appeared for the first time since 1934, the United States, who competed for the first time since 1950, Colombia, who appeared for the first time since 1962, and Romania, who last appeared at the finals in 1970. Among the teams who failed to qualify were France, Denmark, Poland, and Hungary. As of 2014, this was the last time that Egypt and United Arab Emirates qualified for FIFA World Cup finals. The 6-seeded teams for the 1990 tournament were announced on December 7, 1989. The seeds were then allocated to the 6 groups in order of their seeding rank, first seed to Group A, second seed to Group B, etc. The seeds were decided by FIFA based on the nation's performance in, primarily, the 1986 World Cup, with the 1982 World Cup also considered as a secondary influence. 6 of the final 8 in 1986 had qualified for the 1990 tournament. Italy, who were seeded first as hosts, had not reached the final 8 in 1986, and this left FIFA needing to exclude one of the 3 qualified nations who were eliminated in the 1986 quarterfinals: Brazil, England or Spain. Owing to their performance in 1982 but also to their overall World Cup record, Brazil were seeded third and not considered to drop out of the seedings. FIFA opted to seed England ahead of Spain. Spain had only been eliminated in 1986 on penalties, while England had been defeated in 90 minutes. Both countries had also reached the second stage in the 1982 event, playing in the same group in the second group stage, with England ending up ahead of Spain, but Spain had also appeared in the 1978 event, while England had failed to qualify. FIFA President João Havelange had reportedly earlier stated that Spain would be seeded. The finals tournament began in Italy on 8 June and concluded on 8 July. The format of the 1990 competition remained the same as in 1986. 24 qualified teams were divided into 6 groups of 4. The top 2 teams and 4 best third-place finishers from the 6 groups advanced to the knockout stage, which eliminated the teams until a winner emerged. In total, 52 games were played. The tournament generated a record low goals per game average, and a then record of 16 red cards were handed out. In the knockout stage, many teams played defensively for 120 minutes, with the intention of trying their luck in the penalty shootout, rather than risk going forward. 2 exceptions were the eventual champions West Germany and hosts Italy, the only teams to win 3 of their 4 knockout matches in normal time. There were 4 penalty shootouts, a record subsequently equaled in the 2006 and 2014 tournaments. 8 matches went to extra time, a record equaled in the 2014 tournament. Ireland and Argentina were prime examples of this trend of cautious defensive play. The Irish scored just twice in 5 games in drawing all their matches until their defeat to Italy in the quarterfinals. Losing finalists Argentina, meanwhile, scored only 5 goals in the entire tournament, a record low for a finalist. Argentina also became the first, and so far only, team to advance twice on penalty shootouts and the first team to fail to score and have a player sent off in a World Cup final. Cameroon reached the quarter-finals, where they were narrowly defeated by England. They opened the tournament with a shock victory over reigning champions Argentina, before topping the group ahead of both them and European Championship runners-up the Soviet Union. Their success was fired by the goals of Roger Milla, a 38-year-old forward who came out of international retirement to join the national squad at the last moment after a personal request from Cameroonian President Paul Biya. Milla's 4 goals and flamboyant goal celebrations made him one of the tournament's biggest stars, as well as taking Cameroon to the last 8. Most of Cameroon's squad was made up of players who played in France's Premier Football League. Ligue 1 French is one of the officially spoken languages in Cameroon, it being a former French territory. In reaching this stage, they had gone further than any African nation yet ever managed in the World Cup before, a feat only equaled twice since, by Senegal in 2002 and Ghana in 2010. Their success was African football's biggest yet on the world stage, and FIFA subsequently decided to allocate the CAF qualifying zone an additional place for the next World Cup tournament. Hosts Italy won Group A with the 100% record. They beat Austria 1-0 thanks to substitute Salvatore Toto Schillaci, who had played only one international before but would become a star during the tournament. A second 1-0 victory followed against the United States team already thumped 5-1 by Czechoslovakia. The Czechoslovaks ended runners-up in the group, while the USA's first appearance in a World Cup finals since 1950 ended with 3 consecutive defeats. Cameroon defeated reigning champions Argentina. Despite ending the match with only 9 men, the African team held on for a shock 1-0 win, with contrasting fortunes for the brothers Biak, Francois Almam scoring the winning goal, shortly after seeing André Cana sent off for a serious foul. In their second game, the introduction of Roger Milla was the catalyst for a 2-1 win over Romania, Milla scoring twice from the bench, making him the oldest goalscorer in the tournament. With progression assured, Cameroon slumped to a 4-0 defeat in their final group game to the Soviet Union, in what would be their last World Cup due to the dissolution of the Soviet Union, sides striving to stay in the tournament on goal difference after successive 2-0 defeats. A 1-1 draw between Romania and Argentina sent both through, the latter as one of the best third-placed teams. Costa Rica beat Scotland 1-0 in their first match, lost 1-0 to Brazil in their second, then saw off Sweden 2-1 to claim a place in the second round. Brazil took maximum points from the group. They began with a 2-1 win over Sweden, then beat both Costa Rica and Scotland 1-0. Scotland's 2-1 win over Sweden was not enough to save them from an early return home as one of the 2 lowest-ranked third-placed teams. Group that featured the most goals of all the groups, most due to 2 large wins of West Germany and defensive inadequacies of a United Arab Emirates team that lost 2-0 to Colombia, 5-1 to West Germany and 4-1 to Yugoslavia. The West Germans topped the group after a 4-1 opening victory over group runners-up Yugoslavia. The winners of Group E were Spain, for whom Michel hit a hat-trick as they beat South Korea 3-1 in an unbeaten group campaign. Belgium won their first 2 games against South Korea and Uruguay to ensure their progress. Uruguay's advance to the second round came with an injury-time winner against South Korea to edge them through as the weakest of the third-placed sides to remain in the tournament. Group F featured the Netherlands, England, the Republic of Ireland and Egypt. In the 6 group games, no team managed to score more than once in a match. England beat Egypt 1-0, thanks to a 58-minute goal from Mark Wright, and that was enough to win the group. The knockout stage involved the 16 teams that qualified from the group stage of the tournament. There were 4 rounds of matches, with each round eliminating half of the teams entering that round. The successive rounds were, round of 16, quarterfinals, semifinals, final. There was also a play-off to decide 3rd, 4th place. For each game in the knockout stage, any draw at 90 minutes was followed by 30 minutes of extra time. If scores were still level, there would be a penalty shootout, at least 5 penalties each, and more if necessary, to determine who progressed to the next round. Scores after extra time are indicated by at, and penalty shootouts are indicated by. 2 of the ties, Argentina versus Brazil and Italy versus Uruguay, pitted former champion countries against each other, and West Germany met the Netherlands in a rematch of the 1974 World Cup final. The All-South American game was won for Argentina by a goal from Claudio Caniggia with 10 minutes remaining after a run through the Brazilian defense by Diego Maradona and an outstanding performance from their goalkeeper Sergio Goycochea. It would later come to light that Branco had been offered water spiked with tranquilizers by Maradona and Ricardo Giusti during halftime, to slow him down in the second half. Initially discredited by the press, Branco would be publicly proven right years later, when Maradona confessed the episode in a TV show in Argentina. As for Italy, a strong second-half showing saw the hosts beat Uruguay 2-0, thanks to another goal from Schillaci and one from Aldo Serena. The match between West Germany and the Netherlands was held in Milan, and both sides featured several notable players from the two Milanese clubs, Germans Andreas Brahms, Lothar Matthäus and Jurgen Klinsmann for Internazionale, and Dutchman Marco van Basten, Ruud Gullit and Frank Rijkaard for Milan. After 22 minutes Rudi Völler and Rijkaard were both dismissed after a number of incidents, including Rijkaard spitting on Völler. Between the two players left the Argentine referee with no option but to send them both off. As the players walked off the pitch together, Rijkaard spat on Völler a second time. Early in the second half, Jurgen Klinsmann put the West Germans ahead and Andreas Brahms added a second with 8 minutes left. A Ronald Koeman penalty for the Netherlands in the 89th minute narrowed the score to 2-1, but the Germans saw the game out to gain some revenge for their exit to the Dutch in the previous European Championship. Meanwhile, the heroics of Cameroon and Roger Milla continued in their game with Colombia. Milla was introduced as a second-half substitute with the game goalless, eventually breaking the deadlock midway in extra time. 3 minutes later he netted a second after Colombian goalkeeper, René Higuita was dispossessed by Milla while well out of his goal, leaving the striker free to slot the ball into the empty net. Though the deficit was soon reduced to 2-1, Cameroon held on to become the first African team ever to reach the World Cup quarter-finals. Costa Rica were comfortably beaten 4-1 by Czechoslovakia, for whom Thomas Scarvi scored the tournament's second and final hat-trick. The Republic of Ireland's match with Romania remained goalless after extra time, and the Irish side won 5-4 on penalties. David O'Leary converted the penalty that clinched Ireland's place in the quarter-finals. Ireland thus became the first team since Sweden in 1938 to reach the last 8 in a World Cup finals tournament without winning a match outright. Yugoslavia beat Spain 2-1 after extra time, with Dragan Stojkovic scoring both the Yugoslavs' goals. England were the final qualifier against Belgium, as midfielder David Platt's swivelling volley broke the stalemate with the game moments away from a penalty shootout. The first game of the last 8 saw Argentina and a Yugoslav side, reduced to 10 men after only half an hour, play out a goalless stalemate. The holders reached the semi-finals after winning the penalty shootout 3-2, despite Maradona having his penalty saved. A second Argentine miss, by Pedro Troglio, looked to have eliminated them until goalkeeper Sergio Goycochea, playing because first-choice Neri Pompita broke his leg during the group stage, rescued his side by stopping the Yugoslavs' final 2 spot kicks. The Republic of Ireland's World Cup run was brought to an end by a single goal from Schillaci in the first half of their quarter-final with hosts Italy. West Germany beat Czechoslovakia with a 25th-minute Lothar Matthäus penalty. The quarter-final between England and Cameroon was the only quarter-final to produce more than 1 goal. Despite Cameroon's heroics earlier in the tournament, David Platt put England ahead in the 25th minute. At halftime, Milla was brought on. In the second half, the game was turned on its head during a 5-minute stretch. First Cameroon were awarded a penalty from which Emmanuel Khan scored the equalizer, then in the 65th minute Eugene put Cameroon ahead. Cameroon came within 8 minutes of reaching the semi-finals before then they conceded a penalty, which Gary Lineker converted. Midway through extra time, England were awarded another penalty, and Lineker again scored from the spot. England were through to the semi-finals for the first time in 24 years. The first semi-final featured the host nation, Italy, and the world champion, Argentina in Naples. Totor Schillaci scored yet again to put Italy ahead in the 17th minute, but Claudio Caniggia equalized midway through the second half, breaking Walter Zenga's clean sheet streak throughout the tournament. There were no more goals in the 90 minutes or in extra time despite Maradona, who played for Naples in Serie A at the time, showing glimpses of magic, but there was a sending off, Ricardo Giusti of Argentina was shown the red card in the 13th minute of extra time. Argentina went through on penalties, winning the shootout 4-3 after more heroics from Goycochea. The semi-final between West Germany and England at Juventus's home stadium in Turin was goalless at half-time. Then, in the 60th minute, a shot from Andreas Brehme was deflected by Paul Parker into his own net. England equalized with 10 minutes left. Gary Lineker was the scorer. The game ended 1-1. Extra time yielded more chances. Klinsmann was guilty of 2 glaring misses, and both sides struck a post. England had another Platt goal disallowed for offside. The match went to penalties, and West Germany went on to win the shootout 4-3. The game saw 3 goals in a 15-minute spell. Roberto Baggio opened the scoring after a rare mistake by England's goalkeeper Peter Shilton, in his final game before international retirement, presented a simple opportunity. A header by David Platt leveled the game 10 minutes later, but Schillaci was fouled in the penalty area 5 minutes later, leading to a penalty. Schillaci himself got up to convert the kick to win him the tournament's golden boot for his 6-goal tally. Nicola Berti had a goal ruled out minutes later, but the hosts claimed third place. England had the consolation prize of the Fair Play Award, having received no red cards and the lowest average number of yellows per match. The final between West Germany and Argentina has been cited as the most cynical and lowest quality of all World Cup finals. In the 65th minute, Argentina's Pedro Monzon was sent off for a foul on Jurgen Klinsmann, the first player ever to be sent off in a World Cup final. Argentina, weakened by suspension and injury, offered little attacking threat throughout a contest dominated by the West Germans, who struggled to create many clear goal-scoring opportunities. The only goal of the contest arrived in the 85th minute when Mexican referee Edgardo Codesla awarded a penalty to West Germany, after a foul on Rudi Völler by Roberto Sansini. Andreas Brehme, who later said there was no foul, converted the spot kick to settle the contest. In the closing moments, Argentina were reduced to 9 after Gustavo Dazzotti received a red card when he hauled Jurgen Kohler to the ground during a stoppage in play. The 1-0 scoreline provided another first. Argentina were the first team to fail to score in a World Cup final. With its third title, and 3 second-place finishes, West Germany, in its final tournament before national reunification, became the most successful World Cup nation at the time. West German manager Franz Beckenbauer became the only man to both captain, in 1974, and manage a World Cup winning team, and only the second man, after Mario Zagallo of Brazil, to win the World Cup as a player and as team manager. It was also the first time a team from UEFA won the final against a non-European team. Salvatore Schillaci received the Golden Boot award for scoring 6 goals in the World Cup. This made him the second Italian footballer to have this honor, after Paolo Rossi won the award in 1982. In total, 115 goals were scored by 75 different players, none credited as own goals.